Good morning.
Good morning.
So have you ever had one of those days that everything goes wrong? Not me, but she has.
And it was just one of those, you plug in something and it doesn't work and you automatically assume it doesn't work. Well, no, the power cord's not on. Or you go to plug in your camera and the camera's not working and it's not the camera, it's actually the plug for the computer. And it was just I tried to make my coffee and anyway, so if anybody has any tech questions, can you wait till tomorrow? That would be great.
I love those days. Thank God it's not my day today. But
Exactly.
Everyone has them, right?
Yeah.
When it doesn't matter what you touch, it goes wrong. So my advice is just go back to bed or put on Netflix.
Too much to do. No, I'm good because this worked. But at one point I was turning on the TV and I literally was like, if this doesn't work, I'm going back home, which would be the equivalent of going back to bed. So happy Wednesday. We were not there. We were not here last week.
Because you were in Oak Island looking for the treasure.
I didn't find it.
Because we wouldn't be here this week if she did.
We have a whole different video. It would be like the best produced video ever. So I was on vacation. So we put a lot of planning into the vacation. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of moving pieces to this vacation. So typically you go on a vacation, you book your hotel, you book your flight, and whatever, not necessarily a huge amount of plan. But this one, I felt like I've been planning for months, little pieces. We rented the place, we rented this, we rented the car, we rented all kinds of moving pieces. So I was checking in on things multiple times throughout the planning process. But at the end of the week,
you wanted a vacation.
Well, it's not that I wanted a vacation. It's a little bit of I don't know what word to use.
Letdown?
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
A great time. We had a great time away. We were really super small town. Loved to get away, but it was, I guess not a letdown. Yeah.
No, it's a letdown. It's
you feel
the problem
it's
with
odd.
Planned vacations. If you do too much planning, you're so ready to do everything and it's taken a lot of planning and you're kind of hyper. And then you realize it's over at the end and you're like, wow, and I'm tired. and it wasn't, I think the problem is, and I never let myself do that when we're going away or just going anywhere. I don't overthink how great it's going to be because I don't like to be disappointed. And so if you don't have an expectation, you're just thinking, I'm going to go have a good time and that's it, then it's cool. I don't really plan much. When I go somewhere, I just show up.
And this was, I think, the first time in a really long time that I put a lot of planning into it. So it was almost like a wedding. When you think about the wedding, the lead up is almost, it's more involved, right? The lead up, you have months and almost sometimes years of planning and planning and planning. And when it's over, you're like,
that's it. Right.
It was, I'm I almost felt like I didn't know what to do. I got home and I'm like, so I don't have to plan for it because it's over. So
it's
odd.
Yeah. But that's most things. I mean, we plan. And then we're planning the summit right now. We're plan. It's been great. We have lots of great speakers. A lot of things are happening. And then after 5 days, it's going to be done. And then we're like, okay, now we
on to the next thing.
But vacation's a little bit different. I think everyone's idea of vacation, I like to go to cities because I love cities. So wherever I go, if I go to New York, but I don't have plans in New York. And I know someone that just went to New York a couple of months ago and every single day was planned, where they were going, what they were doing, how to get there. And I don't do that. I just show up and go, where should we go today?
Yeah.
And I think it's different. I mean, I traveled a lot, so I'm used to it, but I don't know. I like vacation to be vacation.
Right. And we had pretty much we had a little bit of visiting, a little bit of, other things. So there was one afternoon that we did not plan. And my plan for the non-planned was to do nothing.
Right.
No, but my kids were like, it's our last day. Let's go. Let's do something. And unfortunately, in the state of the world right now, I actually called Fay in the middle of the week and was like, oh my goodness, lack of staff.
Yeah.
Lack of staff everywhere. So restaurants were closed, kitchens were closed, businesses were closed, random days, on a Wednesday, Subway was closed. On a Monday, the coffee shop was closed.
And I have to say, like, I don't understand where everybody is, because we know that there's some emergency wards that were closed in some of the cities across Canada.
Yeah.
And like, where is everybody? Like, everybody's not sick anymore, right? Like, and I don't understand, where are the students this year?
That was the conversation that I had with somebody, because it was like, those were the summer jobs.
Yeah.
Like the restaurants, the stores, especially in tourist areas and stuff like that. Like, my son literally went, so if I wanted to stay here for like a month, I could get a job. And I said, yes.
Yeah.
Like, no problem, because they're really hurting for staff. And it was a shock, because you expected everything to be open.
Yeah.
And this is a tourist town. So like, they really only have a couple of months to make money.
Yep.
And they constantly had to close.
Well, I know businesses
surprising.
that are looking for, student workers, and they're paying them $10 over what they would normally pay, and they still can't get anybody. Wow. So
how are they making money?
Well, that's the problem. Like, I don't know how the students are. I don't know how the businesses are staying afloat. Well, a lot of them are really struggling, and you guys might be some of them. So we'd love to hear from you. What are you doing? What's your experience? Because I know, like, a couple of years, so before COVID, pre-COVID, there was a big worry in the marketplace, especially in corporate, because the baby boomers, we figured they were never going to retire. Right. They loved their work. Yep. They were never going to retire. And the oldest baby boomers now are retirement age beyond, right?
Yep.
And so it was a problem, because the students at the time, or the younger people, were like, what are we going to do? We can't get these, push them off the plank. They won't go. What's interesting is, after COVID happened, now the baby boomers are like going, I'm not going back to work. I got enough money. I'm just going to retire early. And so what's happening is the opposite now. So what's happening is, the baby boomers are retiring, and there's not enough people now to go in and pick up those corporate jobs.
I don't think the succession planning happened.
No.
That's the problem, because I think it was rather fast. Like, typically you would know, like, this particular person is reaching the 65 retirement age. So when they turn 60, we should start the succession planning. Like, who's going to fill that role? Let's start training them, that kind of stuff. But they didn't have the succession planning because it happened so fast.
Yeah. And I think now, like, if you're in your, maybe you're listening, you're in your 50s, and you're thinking, oh, nobody would hire me, I'm getting too old. Now, yes, they will. Yep. You can be 60, 65, and you will be hired, because there isn't enough people with experience to hit those companies. So it's really kind of interesting. So there's holes in there too. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't really understand. There's got to be an awful lot of people doing nothing.
There has to be, because I mean, like you said, in every aspect, right from, the entry level positions where they can't get people, they can't get staff, they're understaffed, they're, whatever, to the other end where, they're retiring. And I don't know, was it the baby boomers? Because the baby boomers take up a very large chunk of our population.
Yeah, they do. But
so
they would have stayed. They would have stayed probably indefinitely and worked, because that was their thing, right? But now, they got a taste of not working, and they're like, well, I got tons of money. I don't need to go back to work.
So there's a gap everywhere in every aspect. But it was interesting. There was actually one restaurant that I saw, and they said, we love our staff so much, and they're working so hard. We're closing tomorrow to give them a day off because they've been working 7 days a week. Yeah. So that was an interesting play on it, that you actually saw that they were doing it, as opposed to, we don't have any staff.
Which is, congratulations to that staff, because most of the staff I see, they don't want it. They're just like, even like, I know restaurants that had to close, obviously, and there's nothing wrong with the staff. They could work. They just aren't willing to work an extra day.
Well, see, that's so then I was asking the question. So I don't know who I was talking to. I can't remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But I was questioning, like, okay, so that particular restaurant, obviously their staff loves them. Yes. So obviously they're treating them really well. They're doing a really good job. They're a great company to work for. They're giving them a day off because they've worked so hard. They're closing their business for a day. They're not pushing their staff.
Right.
And then you have the opposite, where they can't find staff. Right. They're short staffed, all of that kind of stuff. Is it the way that the businesses are running their bit? Like,
well, sometimes I would say, a big part of it for anyone that's running their own business, a big part of it is your hiring process. I mean, obviously, whoever that owner is of that company is hiring well.
Mhm.
And everyone else is hiring, they're putting out fires. So they're hiring anyone that walks through the door.
Right.
And there's a difference. So most of us think that we don't have the luxury of getting the right people. And in a lot of businesses, we don't. You know, we just need a warm body,
Yep.
right? To be able to ring the cash. And, you know, so it's not, some people just don't think they have a choice. But the smart ones, you know, who had hired properly and those people are coming back and you've given them whatever, given them opportunities to do other things, or you've done something right. But I think the difference is that owner knows their staff.
Right.
So they know how to actually, you know, engage them because they hired the right person. And I don't like I can't tell everyone to okay, hire the right people, because I know what you're saying. There are no people. So anyone that walks through the door is hired.
You have to. There's a desperation aspect to that as well, because if the right person, you're right, if the right person does not walk through the door, what does that mean? It means you can't fill the position? No, you still have to fill the position. You still have to run your business.
And I think, you know, that the problem too is, I'm sorry, young folks out there who are getting jobs, but, you know, everything's been kind of handed to them, and they're picky. Yeah. And they're like, I don't want to do that. That's too much work. Oh, it's too hot. I don't want to work there. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's amazing, because I remember, you know, when I was so happy that I had a job when I was their age, and they asked me to take school off to come fill a shift. I just did, because you just didn't want to lose your job.
Yep.
So
it was the opposite. Like, I feel like, you know, again, like when I turned 16, the expectation was I worked. Yeah. I just worked cleaning tables.
Yeah.
And I did not want to give up that job. No. That was when I was 16. And then when I was 17, I took a little bit more time and was like, okay, where would I actually want to work? But you're right. Like,
I never thought about quitting.
Well, I never thought about, I don't want to work in that. Like,
no, it was like, it was a job. And
I was so happy.
And remember, when we were that age, we were like, we have no experience, so we're happy for anyone to hire us.
Yeah.
And now they think they are like smarter or something. And and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You're still dumb. You don't know what you're doing.
You still need experience. And I'm going to just, you know, push back on the businesses with the people who are like 16, 17, 18 years old. They don't have experience with other types of companies. So my 16-year-old has been working this particular summer, working a couple of summer camps and stuff. Great. But the company that he's working for, sorry, if you're watching, it's not been good.
Yeah.
Because there's sort of two types of companies out there. There's one they'd worked at before where they were very, very good on the administrative side. So, you know, they met with him. Here's the expectations. You know, when you come in for your shift, you jot down your in time, your out time. We're paying you every 2 weeks. You know, fill out these forms, blah, blah, blah. Like, super, you know, great when it came to expectations, what to know, what to expect, when they get paid, what to do, like really laid it out really well.
Right.
These guys, on the other hand, he's loving the job, like the actual, like he loves helping with this particular company, but their administrative side. So he doesn't know at any point when he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
So he had to talk to somebody else who was working there, and they said, oh, you have to send them an email with your hours. And no problem. If that's the way your organization works, I felt like there should be a document or some sort of phone conversation or something, or an email that kind of said, here's how it works.
Yeah.
Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
And they're young. They're afraid to say, hey, I didn't get paid.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've been working for a month. Like, how does this work? Because they don't want to lose their job, but they're inexperienced. So I feel like if you're going to hire someone that young, at least go through the process of, this is what you need to do. I mean, we even did that with our speakers for the summit. You know, what's coming up, like what to expect. You know, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, so that they know they can go to that page at any time. They have the link. They can go, I've done this, and, you know, what do I need to do next, and how does it actually work? So it's just that communication, whether it's business, whether you're hiring somebody, whether you're running an event. Everybody needs to know what's going on so that they know what to expect.
And I think that's part of the problem of where a lot of kids are not showing up or quitting. because they're not really being told. Like they're not being, what we used to call it in training, the show me step, right? So you teach somebody to do something, then you say, show me, because you want them to show you that they can do it. And I think that step is being missed because in a lot of companies now, because they're so flustered and they don't have time, they just say, okay, here's the cash, boom, 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 do it. Or this is how you do this process, go ahead. But they don't actually ask them if they know what they're doing.
Well, there was, and with this one, there was no training.
Yeah.
It was, are you available next week?
Yeah.
Yes. When?
Yeah.
What time?
Yeah.
What are the expectations? What do you want me to do? You know, they're kind of figuring it out. So because it's that desperation piece.
Yeah.
We need people to do this.
Right.
And go.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the whole training process also needs to be thought of.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a couple learnings here, if you're watching and you have a really good skill set and you're sitting there on your own because you don't know what you're doing, or you're taking time off, or maybe, you know, your entrepreneurial thing didn't work. There's lots of jobs in corporate. So take a look at the job boards, no matter what your age is, and go ahead and start applying if it's something you're interested in. I think, you know, most companies now are realistically looking at people that want to come to the office. Because that's the other problem, right? People are just saying, you know what, not going to come. If you want to keep me, I'm staying at home. So
I think that's going away. I was actually talking to a friend yesterday who just got a new job, and luckily she had 2 job offers, and one of them was a week of travel a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very typical. Yeah. Now people, you know, are saying, no, I want to work from home. No, we need you to be on site. And then the other one was, our expectation is that you're at least in the office 2 days a week.
Right.
So I think those expectations are coming back. I think it's going to be very interesting to see the transition for people who have moved to remote areas because they could work from home. Well, what happens when the expectation is that you actually need to work in an office now? Yeah.
So if you're willing to go to an office, there's lots of jobs.
Absolutely.
So I think when people are worried right now, I mean, the truth is, if you want to work, there's work. Yeah. So it comes down to, what are you willing to accept? Because a lot of people say, oh, I can't find a job. Well, they can't find a job that it's perfect, that they actually, you know, get everything they want. That's not reality.
Yeah.
So there's always some kind of, you know, give and take that you have to be ready to do if you really want this job. If you have a job that you get an offer and it pays really well and you have to go into the office for 2 days a week, cool, like make it work, because you might get a job that works from home, but it's going to be paying a lot less. And, you know, so you have to kind of weigh out what works better for you. And hey, there's nothing wrong with going in an office. Sometimes it's nice to get away.
We have a beautiful office.
We do. We have a great office. I can't really go into a corporate office right now. It would be a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
But
so what was your first job?
So my first job was modeling.
She rolls her eyes.
So, well, I mean, my real first job was, my parents owned restaurants, so I used to carry dishes upstairs and downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really exciting. But modeling was really, it kind of fell into my lap, and it was just runway and stuff. It was local, and it was really, really good money, but I really, really hated it.
Really?
Yeah, because it was just so, like, you didn't need to have a mind. You didn't have to think anything. You just walked. True. And it was like, I don't know. I just thought it was a little bit ridiculous, if that makes sense. I just thought it was stupid.
But good money.
It was great money. Yeah. But again, I had to make that decision. So I said, no, I'd rather just be work in a retail store or something, because I felt like it was just weird to me that you would, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't talk, you just put on stupid clothes, and and people like just, they were always gawking at you, and I didn't like that. I just thought it was weird. When you're young, I was so young when I was young, and I was just like, that doesn't make sense. How about you?
Well, I say, like, I sort of had the first like little job where I was like cleaning tables, but that was only for like a month. And then I worked at, be careful, I'm going to age myself, the 1 hour photo lab.
Oh yeah.
Also, I worked at Camera Store. It probably sounds a little bit better. Yeah. So I did the combo. So I actually worked there for 8 years. I started when I was 16, and I worked there all.
Oh, so you didn't work till you were 16?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's good. Jeez. I led a different life.
So I worked when I was 16. I got the job. But I did it on my own. Like, it was a little bit done. I literally had to walk. I walked the mall. I was like, where can I work? And I saw this store and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was just like, I was in awe because I was like, I could work in a lab. Like, how cool would that be? And because, I still love tech even back then. I worked with cameras. Like, how cool would that be? Photography, videography. Like, I really liked all that stuff. So I applied, I gave them my resume, and then I called them, and then I called them, and then I called them, and then I called them. And they finally, literally, the guy admitted, he goes, I hired you till you would stop calling me.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to work there. And I ended up working there again all through high school, all through university, worked there summer jobs.
Like, if you get a job you like.
It was so great. They had multiple locations. So I worked at multiple locations in different aspects of the town. So it was really fun. I really liked that. So I learned a lot about first of all, I saw a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember those days? Because the technician saw. It's not like now where it's digital; it's all computerized. They saw every picture you took.
Every single one, and some of them was great. They were vacation shots, so we saw people's summer vacations, and I saw literally every corner of the world, and then I saw everything else. Yeah. So when you think about people who were developing the film back then. Yeah. They had to, because on top of the fact that I had to look at negatives. Yeah. So if you're under the age of 30, you might not know what that is.
Yeah.
But I had to look at negatives. I actually was really good. I could color correct by looking at a negative. Like, I was like, I was doing it for so long at that point. So I was looking at negatives. And then not only do we have to look at that, we have to look at each photo.
Yeah.
To make sure that it turned out okay.
Yeah.
And some of them
people didn't. Well,
I don't think they knew. I don't think they understood the process.
No, it's funny because so I was watching. I think I told you yesterday. I was watching a Netflix special. Whitney Cummings, had a comedian, and she talked about that specifically, about the fact that we had to get our pictures developed. Yep. So there was none of these worrying about people seeing your naked selfie on your phone, because the photo person saw if you're taking them, and I'm sure they made copies. Some people, like you didn't, but I'm sure a lot of people made copies of the pictures that they enjoyed.
It was so easy to do.
Yeah.
And so we did have, this is probably like way wrong, but there were some really funny photos that we did have in the back that we were just like, oh my goodness, not bad ones, because that would have been bad. But I do remember one time there was a very interesting photo. Perhaps they should have used a Polaroid. And we're actually, by law, we're not allowed to print it.
Oh.
Actually, sometimes you did, depending on, but if it
how
was
graphic it was.
Yeah, but this was really bad. And the guy was just started yelling at me. And here I am, like 17 years old, like, guy's yelling at me for not printing this particular photo. And I'm like, can I interest you in a Polaroid camera?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I sold him. So yeah,
it's amazing. Like, things have changed so much. But and that's the trouble when you're 17 and 16 and you have to make those decisions. And sometimes that's what happens, when you go into a store and or into a restaurant and the 17-year-old guy behind the Subway counter made your sub wrong. Like, don't start screaming at the 17-year-old. They're doing the best they can,
with what information they have at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In like 8 years from now, if he's still there, I bet he's going to make the best sandwich in the world.
Yeah, but like, give him a break, right? But you never, it's interesting, all those jobs with which you think are, ridiculous when you're doing them, whether it's, I was a cashier at Canadian Tire, which is, but like what it makes you do is it makes you appreciate years and years later what they are actually doing, and realizing that, it's not that easy. It's even like being a cashier is not that easy. You have to know everything, and the systems change, and you have to understand, and you do have people yelling at you because the price is wrong and this was on sale. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, chill a bit. But like all those jobs, I remember, I had a job. I got to tell you this job. I think I was, I guess I wasn't. I think I was only 14 or 15. It was still in the modeling days. So we have something in Ontario called the Exhibition.
Oh, yeah.
And it runs for 2.5 weeks in August. And it's like a big, massive, weird carnival. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just bizarre, but it's massive. And then there was like different buildings. And one was called the Better Living Building. And that was when they would bring all the new tech, right? Which was like a new broom or something. I don't know. And There was this thing, I can't remember the name of the company. It was clothing, kittens. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, it was all knit stuff. And they hired us, who were modeling at the time. And what you did, this is
I'm scared.
It's the worst. So we had a big, like, it was almost like a stage. It was a booth, but it was like a stage. And you would wear some of the clothing and you would sit and pretend you're a mannequin. And then people would walk by and they would think that they're mannequins, right? And then people would be like, oh my God, they're real or whatever. And you just sit for like your entire shift.
And not move?
Not move, right? And I mean,
that would be my worst nightmare.
And eventually, but so I think, thinking back at it, and it was crazy money for
and you're not willing to move? Please take all of
and
this.
You looked nice, you looked really pretty and everything but you didn't do anything. Like, you literally didn't move. And I did that 2 years because, like, I'm not going to say no to that money.
Yeah, of course.
But I'll tell you, I mean, I always think about all the jobs I had, and I think that was part of the reason I was so interested in school and learning, like, strategy and understanding all that, is because I realized that that was like, I couldn't do that. It was like, it was never going to be okay with me to continue to do stuff where you didn't use your head. And which is fine for people. Some people are perfect. Like, you know what?
We all have different types of jobs, and we all need,
And like, look at those supermodels making a gazillion dollars. Like, it's a great job, right? But it's always interesting when you look back and you piecemeal all the jobs you've had, and your appreciation again of people that are doing that or doing something similar. And I think if you've waitressed, you're a better customer.
Yeah.
Right.
Any retail.
Yeah.
I think you're a better customer working retail, customer service, waitressing, or whatever. If you are dealing with the public, it will make you a better customer.
So I got to tell you one more story because I think it's really funny, because we say that people don't train. So again, I worked at the X. I worked at the X almost my entire from 13 on every year, 2.5 weeks, because in 2.5 weeks you can make more than all your friends did all summer.
That's awesome.
So once I worked at this, it was a cosmetic booth. We sold makeup and we did makeovers and stuff. And I was like 14 or 15. I don't know what I was doing. And they did ear piercing. And they just said, okay, here's the gun. And I was like,
what?
Yeah. And I was like, no training, nothing. And so I'd always give it to the older girl who was like 17.
She had so much life experience.
Because she wasn't afraid, but I'm like, I'm not piercing the gun I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm not piercing somebody's ear. That's creepy, right? I don't know how to do it.
You do it wrong.
But it wasn't. But you think about it, you can do that anywhere, right? You can walk into some accessory store. So those people that are working in the accessory store, like, now you think about it, they don't have any experience.
Oh my goodness.
So
wow, that's crazy. I had a lot of training.
Yeah,
I had to.
Yeah,
and I think going back to you sitting there all day made you realize that this was not for you.
Yeah,
and you wanted to do something that you learned, and whatever strategy, like, you needed to. That's why you're a lifelong learner. Like, you can't just sit there. And my first job, that's what taught me about all the tech and production and making things like, I loved systems. Like, because that's where I started.
Yeah. Well,
so sometimes those experiences can help you through a whole life.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you have the ability, if you're running a business, you have the ability to make a difference to some of these students who, if you had gone and you didn't do any training and you were just left there, you might have not liked it, never stayed.
Exactly.
Because your experience wasn't good. So, for some people, it's the same thing. It's not that they don't like the job, but they don't understand it. And so they're like, well, I'd rather go somewhere where I'd actually learn what to do.
Yeah. And it can impact them.
Yeah.
Like, totally. We are like well into our lives and still talking about, like, what was your first job? What was the experience you got out of it? What did you learn? Yeah. So you have an opportunity for that to be one of their stories going forward. And, my son, who worked at a grocery store, has he worked there for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And he still says, I met some great people, the training, like, I learned so much about this and that. And he had a really great experience. My younger son is not having the same experience, so his story is going to be different. I want to work somewhere that's really organized, that, you know, make sure that I'm trained well, and the expectations, like he's going to have his next job, he's going to have different expectations. Right? Because of what you learn.
Yeah. And so it doesn't like, and some of it is just initiative. Some of it's like, you know, there are people that'll say, teach me how to do this. I want to understand this. I don't get this. Great. If you have one of those people, do not think they're annoying.
Teach them.
Like they are like jewels. You're like, cool. They want to learn everything. Awesome. Let me teach this person.
Take the time.
Rather than, oh, this person has a million questions. They have a million questions because you haven't trained them.
Yep. Exactly. Or that they want to learn more. Take that time. Invest. Trust me. It'll be the best thing you ever did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. And we were going to have more details next week about the summit, because we're going to finalize everything. We're really excited. But if you do want to see and sign up, you can. It starts on August the 22nd, 417.co.
See you there.